This is the talk show that takes a no-holds-barred approach to politics, where truth and integrity are the standard and the Constitution honored. From Renaissance Studios, this is Champion News Talk Radio.
Good morning and welcome to a very special edition of Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net, your choice for the conservative voice. This is Carol Parisi. Today our founder Jack Roser and myself have an all-star cast with us today. We have Monsignor Gregory Ketcham from Champaign. We have Pastor John Kirkwood, and we also are going to be having Reverend Bob Vandenbosch on today. So stay with us, grab some coffee, call some friends, and listen in. Jack, how are you today?
Well, the only thing that matters is politically, and I think this program this morning is very political. Normally you wouldn't find the reverends talking politics, but suddenly it's in the news because our president has really stuck his snoot into a buzzsaw by coming out against some of the most widely held Christian beliefs. And I'm, of course, referring to right to life. As a Republican, and I think it's necessary, people should realize, don't vote for any Democrat this year. Mm-hmm. They have made a mess of the state of Illinois. We are the most bankrupt state of all 50, and we are also known throughout the world as the most crooked. Those twin indictments of the state of Illinois have been earned very nicely by Madigan, who's been running the House for some 42 years. That we are in a position like that leaves us with an admonition that I've never made before and wouldn't think wise most days. And that is, don't vote for any Democrat till we've got Madigan pushed to the sidelines. And we're lucky that the Tea Party people have been exponents of the values that have been the beginning and the running of this nation of ours. Our founders were bright, mostly Christians, some Jewish people, and they founded our nation on values. And when our present president, hopefully not for very long, jumped in and made right to life from a different position, and somehow made it into a woman's right to have control over the baby that's growing in her. Listen, aborting a baby isn't the same as trimming your fingernails. They're all part of our body, but there's a big difference.
Well,
so what we are in is a political situation where morals really matter. And so that you two and the third gentleman are men of the cloth, as it were. Mm-hmm. We suddenly find ourselves comrades in arms in a very serious election.
Well, clearly, policy is translating into the political process. This president, with the health care law, with the mandate, Monsignor, Pastor John, I want to hear your opinions on some of these things, and specifically to what Vice President Biden said as a Catholic, Monsignor, that he said he is pro-life, but he believes in a woman's right to choose. How does that pass muster from a clergy perspective?
Well, Caroline, it does not pass muster whatsoever. So a Catholic in good standing is one who is shoulder to shoulder with the teachings of the Catholic Church. To profess that you're with the Catholic Church and at the same time hold that you support teachings that are against the Catholic Church, I mean, there's an inconsistency that's just mind-boggling. And so when I listen to Vice President Biden make that statement that he agreed with the teachings of the Catholic Church, but at the same time he was not going to push his agenda on anyone else, I thought, he's not taking his faith out into the public square, which we have to do. We have to take our faith out into the public square. I'm kind of a sports-oriented type of person, always have been since I was a kid. And fundamentals are so very important with regards to our experience. And this experience as Americans today, our fundamentals are so key. The fundamentals of football, you can't run the end around play, can you, Jack, unless you know how to block, or else it's not going to be successful.
To add to your thing, as Republicans, you have a platform. I don't think the Democrats have a political platform. Nobody certainly mentions anything having to do with values. They're only political. But the Republican Party does have a platform, both national and state, and it does have a piece in it about right to life. And so a Republican should be standing more or less foursquare with the right to life thing, just as a Republican, as well as a present-day exponent of the Christian beliefs that should be there.
As much as they, Jack, that's a good point, as much as they try and avoid social issues in their platform, it does creep in there. And one of the things that Paul Ryan brought out in the debate the other night was that the Democratic platform now has taken out the language that an abortion should be legal, safe, and rare.
Yeah.
And they've taken that language out, which is amusing anyway in of itself. But
pretty dilute position on it.
I think from Illinois, we know that this is not an abortion president in Barack Obama. This is an infanticide president in Barack Obama. He voted 4 times against the Infant Born Alive Act. He was the only Democrat to speak openly on the floor against that act, which was an act, of course, if a baby survives an abortion and it's born alive. He inspired a new medical term in the industry called shelving, where they'd take the baby and put it on a shelf in a laundry closet until it expired. This is not simply an abortion issue now. It's gone beyond that. After the last presidential debate, a journalist approached the Obama people, David Axelrod and others, and said, what provision of abortion is President Obama against? Is there any provision that he thinks is too extreme? And they couldn't give an answer.
But clearly, the Democrats are posing this as a war on women and a woman's right to choose. And we have a separation of church and state. So how does that work with our laws that are in place? And who are believers to tell others how to live their lives?
Well,
no,
if
wait
I
a
could
minute.
swing at that.
Wait a minute. Who are believers?
Yeah.
This country was founded on belief. These guys came over here and they left behind all of the kings and barons and the guys on the hill that told people how they were going to live. And they set up standards here of how to live, of morality. So that's what this country's all about. And anybody who doesn't like that ought to go back to the kings and barons.
And there are many issues in this election, but the fundamental issues are life and religious liberty. And that's as I said a little bit earlier, that's our experience as Americans, life and religious liberty. Those are the 2 fundamental issues in this election. And if we could just get all Catholics, as much as I love my brother and sister Christians throughout the world and in this country, if we could get all Catholics to vote with the church, we would get Barack Obama out of office.
Monsignor, why do you think Catholics don't vote their values? And then I'm going to ask you, Jen, why do you think they don't vote their teaching? Why?
Well, I think traditionally the Catholic Church was democratic, but the Democratic Party has changed.
John
from their experience. And I think they're just so rooted in their ways, but they need to see that we live in a different age and a different world right now than what we lived in the 1940s and 1950s.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up John F. Kennedy, because if you go to Arlington Cemetery and you go and you see his grave and Jackie's and the kids next to him, you'll find out that he was pro-life. As a matter of fact, they have a grave there marked for their daughter who was stillborn. So John Kennedy, I don't think he'd be a Democrat in this day, without, of course, compromising completely the principles that he espoused in his speeches and in his words.
That's what's happened, however. This is a remarkable season of an election, because these values have suddenly crept into it, because you've got a president who's a very strange individual. and he departs in many ways from the traditional American idea of how we should go, who should govern us. He's very strongly involved in the Quran and steeped in that religion as a youth. There's a lot of other things that he seems to depart from regular American principles. Certainly...
he says he's a Christian. Ask his pastor, Reverend Jeremiah Wright.
Jeremiah Wright isn't a Christian that any normal Christian would want to hold up as one of their nicer guys.
Black liberation theology.
Whatever it is, it's been distorted. There are rotten individuals that have permeated every decent society in the world, and that's another one of them.
We are going to talk more about this when we come back. Stay with us after the break. We were going to have a great show for you.